All right, here we go. The 2-4 deductive reasoning takeaway. So with the Kahoot, we learned about the law of detachment. In order for us to make a conclusion, the hypothesis has to be satisfied. So in the conditional statement, if P then Q, assuming that's true, if P is true, if the hypothesis is true, if it's satisfied, then that means Q is true. Okay? So again, in the conditional, if P then Q, if P is satisfied, then you can conclude that Q is true. That's why conditional statements work so well as rules. You know, if you come in late to class, you come in past the bell, then you get a detention.
Do we have to put this behind this?
Yeah. In the second section. So if you come in late to class, then you get a detention. So if the first part is satisfied, if the bell rings and then you walk through the door, then boom, automatic detention. Okay? Because the hypothesis was met. Now what if you come through the door, you're on time, but then I still give you a detention? What does that mean? I don't know what that means. I mean, could mean a bunch of different things, but I can't really make a conclusion about what that means. Maybe you called me a dirty dish rag, and I took offense to it.
You would, wouldn't you?
And no one called me a dirty dish rag.
You're dirty soup.
Well, soap is used to clean, so how can it be dirty?
That's the point.
I know, right?
Complimenting you as insult.
All right, here's the next thing.
Soap can get dirty, actually, like bar soap. If you have dirty hands, you can rub your
Oh yeah, the
That's
dirt gets on the soap. Yeah. All right. Good discussion. Good discussion. Law of syllogism. Kind of a fun word to say. So that is where you build that premise. You build those conditionals. And in doing so, you set up a conclusion that, in this case, if P is true, then it flows through and you can conclude that R is true. So if P then Q, if Q then R, notice how they're linked by the Q's. If P then Q is the conclusion, if Q, the hypothesis, then R, then you can say if P, then R. I can just skip through that Q part and get right to the conclusion. Again, Elle Woods did this to Chutney, right? She pointed out their hair is curly. She concluded she must not have been in the shower.
We should watch the whole movie.
The whole movie? We'll watch another clip of it tomorrow. Legally Blonde.
That sounds like my sister.
Okay, so the assignment, you can put this on a document if you want, page 117, 2 through 32 even, 33 to 37 all. We'll get to about number 18 today, I think. So, document or blank sheet of paper, and I'll pull this up. If possible, and number 2, if possible, make a conclusion from the given true statement. What reasoning did you use? So the reasonings here are going to be law of detachment or law of syllogism. Okay? So don't get hung up on that too much. They sound a lot more complicating than they are. So if a figure is a 3-sided polygon, then it is a triangle. Figure ABC is a 3-sided polygon. What can we conclude? Rulon? It's a triangle. Man, we seem smart, don't we? You guys got that? Figure ABC is a triangle. Starting on number 2, we're doing evens. So we'll do number 4 next if you want to start in on that. So again, I'll read it out loud. Number 2, if a figure is a 3-sided polygon, then it is a triangle. Figure ABC is a 3-sided polygon. So we can conclude
It's a drawing.
it's a triangle.
17, wow. Just
Got it?
there for a second. Yeah.
All right, I'm waiting.
Please. I'm not there. I'm a little slow.
Because again, the hypothesis is a 3-sided polygon, right? A figure is a 3-sided polygon. So if that is satisfied, then you can make the conclusion. Okay. So a figure ABC is a 3-sided polygon. All right, got it. Check that box. That means I can conclude that figure ABC is a triangle.
Number 4 is 7.
Isn't a keyword?
Okay.
Shut up. Stop.
Number 4. It's like I think it's closely related to like an ostrich or something, isn't it? It's not a penguin.
I'm pretty sure a kiwi is a
Gotta
fruit.
talk about.
Yeah, it's true. A kiwi's a fruit. Okay, what is the error in the reasoning below? All right, birds that weigh more than 50 pounds cannot fly. All right, birds, if they weigh more than 50 pounds, then they cannot fly. A kiwi cannot fly. Therefore, a kiwi weighs more than 50 pounds. There's an error there. What is it? There's an error there. Is the hypothesis satisfied?
I don't think that a kiwi bird weighs more than.
Okay, I'm not. So the key here, guys, is not like a biology question, right? I'm not asking like, well, can a kiwi fly? Does it weigh more than 50 pounds? Is that what's going on here? What I'm asking is, in this sentence structure, birds that weigh more than 50 pounds cannot fly. So if a bird weighs more than 50 pounds, then it cannot fly. The following statement is a kiwi cannot fly. Does a kiwi cannot fly, does that sentence satisfy the hypothesis? So what happens if you don't satisfy the hypothesis? What can you conclude? Listen, what happens if you don't satisfy the hypothesis? What can you conclude?
I don't know, was it here?
Nothing. If you don't satisfy the hypothesis, then you can't conclude anything. Okay? So in this case, birds that weigh more than 50 pounds cannot fly. A kiwi cannot fly. Okay, cool. I can't make a conclusion after that. Okay? Now, if it said, birds that weigh more than 50 pounds cannot fly. A kiwi weighs more than 50 pounds. Can I make a conclusion then? Yeah, because the hypothesis then would be satisfied. If it said a kiwi weighs more than 50 pounds, then I could say a kiwi cannot fly. But it doesn't say that. It's backwards, okay? So to answer the question, what is the error? The error is that the hypothesis, the P, if you want to use the lettering, the P was not satisfied.
Now I'm confused. Wait, aren't penguins a bird, right?
Yeah.
Never mind. I was thinking something really, really stupid.
Penguins can fly if they go up a ramp. Down a hill.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's called like, yeah, even I can do that. Go down the hill on a snowboard.
Watch, guys, I can fly.
Yeah.
Right, please look at the floor.
I was thinking that like birds more than 50 pounds literally could not fly like in real life, but then I realized it's just a math question.
Yeah, don't get too hung up on the
You gotta have some big wings if you
biology there.
The Corey Bustard weighs 42 pounds and is the heaviest flying bird.
So pretty much, according to Google, that's true, right? I mean,
What about
we-
pterodactyl?
That's not mine.
Those are not.
I count those as
Okay, number
I count those
6.
as birds.
Here we go. Number 6. If possible, use the law of detachment to make a conclusion. So this is basically just what we did on the Kahoot. Okay. If a doctor suspects her patient has broken a bone, then she should take an X-ray. Dr. Nagimba suspects that Lily has broken an arm. So what can we conclude?
She's gonna do an X-ray.
If a doctor suspects her patient has broken an arm, Dr. Nagimba suspects Lily has broken her arm. Okay? You see how the hypothesis is satisfied? Yeah? So what can we conclude?
She's
She
going to
should make it.
She needs an x-ray.
I'm being confident now.
There you
I'm
go.
gonna get it way wrong. And
That's what I'm
I'm
talking about.
probably not be confident at all. Thank you, Brendan. I forgot. Is there a way on the document to make it even numbers instead of going 1, 2, 3, 4?
I don't think so.
Just put 2, and then center, and then 4, and then 2, 3, 6, and then 2.
I'm good.
Okay, number 8. If 3 points are on a line, then they are collinear. Points X, Y, Z are on line M. What can you conclude?
They're collinear.
Uh-huh. Again, as long as you can tell if the hypothesis is satisfied, then you can make a conclusion. If you can't tell if it's satisfied, if there's not a statement relating to it, then you can't make a conclusion. So it's once you wrap your mind around that, pretty simple.
Do that.
All right, we're on number 10. You guys got number 8 answered?
Yeah.
Before we do number 10, though, I want to talk about number 9. Before we do number 10, let me talk about number 9. You don't have to write it down, but if an angle is obtuse, then it is not acute. Okay? The hypothesis is an angle is obtuse, then it is not acute. XYZ is not obtuse. Can I make a conclusion there? Was the hypothesis satisfied? No. So number 9 is one of those, would be no conclusion. Let's talk about 10, and then this is what we're doing. If a student wants to go to college, then the student must study hard. Rashid wants to go to Pennsylvania State University. What can we conclude?
He's going to study hard.
Yep.
Good job, Spencer.
Yeah, we can conclude that Rashid needs to study hard.
How do you, what?
Rashid wants to go to Pennsylvania State University. Therefore, Rashid must study hard.
I'll go.
Questions there before we move on?
She has had the worst piece of paper
I know.
I've ever seen.
Penn State rugby scholarship.
Okay, number 12. We're going to skip number 12 and come back to it. So put number 12 down, maybe go down a couple lines, and we're going to do number 14, and then we'll go back to number 12. Can we do that? All right. Because number 12 can be confusing. Number 14 is kind of confusing too, but I'm going to try to teach 14 first, and then maybe 12 will make sense.
We got this.
Okay, law of syllogism. We're going to try to link these together, okay, to make a conclusion. If you improve your vocabulary, then you improve your score on a standardized test. If you read often, then you'll improve your vocabulary. What can we conclude?
Reading makes your vocabulary better.
If you read often, your score will improve.
Yes, which I think is what someone said over here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So notice how you can link these together, right? If you read often, let's do it this way. If you read often, then you improve your vocabulary. Well, then up here it says if you improve your vocabulary, see how they're the same, they're linked. One's a conclusion, one's a hypothesis. When you have that, you can link them up, and you can just say the conclusion here. If you read often, then you improve your score on a standardized test. Isn't that good stuff?
I feel like that could get extremely confusing.
It can, but it's when you build an argument, it can get confusing. Okay. The conclusion would be if you read often, then you improve your score on a standardized test.
I said if you read often, then your score will improve. Does that work?
That's fine. Yep, that works. All right, back to number 12. If a whole number ends in 6, then it is divisible by 2. If a whole number ends in 4, then it is divisible by 2. What can we conclude?
Whole numbers can be divisible by 2.
Is that what it says?
No, but that's what it means.
5's a whole number, can't be divisible by 2.
Yeah, 2.5.
Even numbers?
Even numbers, okay, but does it say anything about even numbers up there?
No.
We're just kind of piecing that together with our own knowledge, right? Which is fine. But based on these statements, can we make a conclusion?
No.
There is no link, right? You might be saying, well, they're both divisible by 2. Can I link these up? It just wouldn't make a lot of sense, right? If a whole number ends in 6, then a whole number ends in 4. Like, no, that doesn't work, right? So there's no link. It would have to be like, if a whole number ends in 6, then it's divisible by 2. Then the next hypothesis would have to say something like, if it's divisible by 2, then da-da-da-da-da, something, okay? But it's just kind of clunky. It doesn't really flow. There's nothing that can be concluded here, all right? So that's your answer. No conclusion.
I'm ready.
16. All right, again, so this is where we're kind of piecing a lot of stuff together, okay? We're going to use detachment and syllogism to make a conclusion. If you live in the Bronx, then you live in New York. Tracy lives in the Bronx, okay? If you live in New York, then you live in the 11th state to enter the Union. What can I conclude, ultimately?
She lives in the 11th state.
Who?
Tracy lives in the 11th state in the Union.
There you go. So we took Tracy, lives in the Bronx, okay, live in the Bronx, live in New York, okay, live in New York, live in the 11th state. That's how it would flow. So we took all this information to conclude that Tracy lives in the 11th state to enter the Union. Any questions or repeats there? All right, one more here, and then we'll be out of time. We're going to do 18. I want you guys to do it on your own here. Okay, it's a lot of reading. Oh, you're so scared, I know. Read through it. It's not as bad as you think. Just answer the question. Don't worry about these follow-up questions. Just answer the question. How much do you pay for chicken fingers after the game? We will have an exit quiz tomorrow. We'll finish this up before the exit quiz. You guys need to make sure you do your exit quiz while you're at home.